Well, hello. Hi, Alison.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm super excited to see you. I'll let everybody know why in like 30 seconds. But before that, we're going to let some people come into the chat in case you're just joining in. I saw some known names, Alison, in the chat. So people you might recognize from Zoom, I believe. So for everyone joining us, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Content Summit organized by PlayPlay. Just giving you all, again, a tiny little bit of context on who we are. We're a video creation platform. We're all about content. So we were super excited to put together this event and make sure that we were talking to the best of the best, the crème de la crème, as we say in France, now that everybody knows we're French, the crème de la crème of marketing speakers. So today we're speaking to Alison. Just before we start the chat, I just want to say a couple of things, a little bit of housekeeping for everyone. If you have questions for Alison, and I'm sure you will, there is a Q&A tab at the top of your screen, and we would love for you to ask your questions there. The reason why we would love for you to ask your questions in the Q&A tab and not in the chat is because you can upvote your questions. So should someone have a really great question, we can make sure that I ask it to Alison throughout this chat. Other than that, I think just engage in the chat, say hi to everyone, say where you're from. It's so nice to see people from like international countries. It's been really lovely. But yeah, that was for the housekeeping. Now we're going to speak to Alison. So, Alison, you're the senior social media manager at Zoom. You've been there, I believe, 5 years. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes, 5 years.
5 years, yeah. So you've seen Zoom when it wasn't Zoom, and now you're at Zoom being Zoom. So this is a really interesting chat we're going to have with you. Prior to this, you were working for the Raiders, and now this is me pretending I know everything about sports in America, which I don't. So I asked Alison prior to this if there are any Raiders fan in the chat, please say hi. And so this is a really nice chat for me to have with you because for a little bit of context, Alison and I used to be on the same team at Zoom. So this is just me having a fun chat with someone I like a lot and someone I know is an expert on the platform. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. Alison, do you want to say a little word about who you are and what you do at Zoom, maybe?
Yeah, so like Melissa said, I am on the social media team. I manage all of our content on the organic channels that we have. So we're across the board. Obviously, today we're talking about TikTok, which is, such a fun platform. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into content. So I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for including me, Melissa. It's so nice to be chatting with you again in all of our meetings in the last few weeks, getting ready.
Yes.
It's just the happiest it's ever been.
I'm super excited too. So for a little bit of context for everyone, and once again, feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A. But what we're going to talk about today is, so Alison works for Zoom, as you've just heard, and what Zoom has done in the past 2 years is an incredible job as a brand on TikTok. So we want Alison to unpack what it means for brands to join TikTok, how such a big name as Zoom decided to hop on the TikTok trend, and why you did it. And then maybe very simply, how do you create good content on TikTok? So that's the program for us today. And if you're ready, Alison, I think we can just go from here.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I guess I'm going to start with a very easy question. But how did Zoom decide to go on TikTok? It must have been terrifying.
Yes, it was a little scary starting a new channel, of course, and it being TikTok. We made our first post back in January of 2021. So we definitely weren't the first brand on TikTok, but I'd say we were still a little bit, early to the party. As more people joined during COVID on TikTok, I feel like the content themes expanded there from being more than just kind of the dancing music platform to how-tos, motivational and like productivity content. And then, more trends that we saw to bleed into like pop culture and other social channels. So kind of in addition to TikTok itself just becoming a bigger platform and us seeing that more of the audience that we'd be speaking to and targeting on our other social channels were on TikTok, there was so much content about Zoom already there. People using Zoom for school and working from home and, everyday life kind of, moving to Zoom. And so it was really kind of a natural progression to get on there and be involved in the conversation. So we started our TikTok probably 4 to 5 months, maybe 6 months before actually even posting. just, engaging in post about Zoom, about working from home, kind of like a soft launch onto TikTok, I'd say, and just kind of getting a feel for the platform from a brand perspective. And, as you'll remember, Melissa, we were a little afraid of, being the face of Zoom when, most social content managers here, or, even, content writers, just content people in general, I feel like are more used to being behind the scenes. So having that shift and really being in front of the camera as a content creator was something we like really needed to get over. And it did take us a little bit of time to kind of get over that fear of like, people going to be really mean to us? What are they going to say about my hair? Or like, like we were just like my accent, like I know like there's all these different things that we were worried about, but we kind of got over that as we were, planning the type of content we would share, our strategy, the cadence for sharing, like it just got a little bit more exciting and we were really ready to get on there. But yeah, I think those were kind of the main reasons why we decided to get on there. It was just a pretty natural fit for us, I'd say.
I love it, and I can definitely relate to the scariness. Like we had so many conversations about who's gonna be the first person on the first post, and like who's gonna just jump in the pool and do it all. So yeah, I definitely remember these days. But the journey's been fantastic though, because we started posting and you started posting, and you saw quite rapidly that people were talking about Zoom so much that it was quite a natural fit for the brand to be on TikTok. Talking about like the fit and the feel and understanding how the social network works, like how is TikTok different from other social channels? You kind of talked a little bit on, for other social media, you might just be behind the scenes and kind of writing the content, and that's all easier, let's say. But are there any other differences you see between TikTok and other social media platforms?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok's amazing. I'm sure everyone here can agree with that. I feel like people are so much more engaged when they're on TikTok. Like I know for myself, I can spend hours on it and, not get bored or feel like I'm at the end of my feed or, there's no more content for me to explore on TikTok. It feels like it literally just like never ends. So yeah, there's so much to be seen. And I feel like the algorithm serves you definitely what you're interested in. So you're not getting a bunch of content that doesn't, make you excited to keep scrolling. And, there's part ones and part twos and everything beyond. And yeah, so I think it's just it's a different amount of time people are spending on TikTok and how they're using it more than other social channels, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good point, and I think one of the biggest difference from what you just said as well is like it's all about discovering, which we're so used to just having people following brands and then having you just broadcasting your message. Then suddenly you have to work on your creativity and discoverability and making sure that you use the right trends and understand the right trends. So that kind of brings my next question, which is how do you get started with the content? Like how do you know what to create? Because I think that's probably one of the scariest thing in the world is like I understand that I don't want to sound like a brand. I want to make sure I fit with the culture of the social network I'm in. So like how do you find the correct content, and did you guys experiment with it? Like how did it go?
Yeah, our goal on all of our social channels is really to educate, celebrate, and inspire our customers. So we took the approach there on TikTok too, and we really wanted to make sure that our content on TikTok reflected that goal too. So I would say, look at what works well on other channels, of course. Like we were doing a lot of how-to videos at the time and types of content, and that, is still some of our top performing content. So, we took that approach on TikTok as well. And, we looked at what worked on other channels, kind of took things that our customers were most familiar with. We didn't, want to carve out content that only fit with a certain type of customer. We really want to like talk to all of our end users as best as we could. And then we kind of looked at like what topics resonated with TikTok based on like how we use the platform personally, like you said, like the trending audio and stuff. So yeah, we would use trending audio and found stuff, of course, that was available to use, because for brands, unfortunately, not everything is. And I'm sure we can all agree that is such a pain at times. And then, we were educating on new features and busting myths that, would circulate, and just engaging with our audience in comments and duetting other creators when it made sense. Jumping on trends is a huge way to get really into TikTok and find content that, works. And then, like you mentioned, testing is so huge. We just tested new concepts, tested posting times, and really tried to just learn from those findings and apply them in future videos. But yeah, I think with all of that, the best thing is to be flexible and test and learn, and then definitely don't get too discouraged when your videos aren't going viral and you're posting, you've had 10 and they're all, not performing how you want them to. And of course it is hard because you put so much time and effort into them and creativity, and I'm sure we all think it's, the best video out there, and why isn't this going viral? Why isn't TikTok promoting this on the algorithm? So yeah, I think testing and learning and not being too discouraged by things not performing as well, especially now with, I feel like TikTok's way more saturated with brands and influencers and content creators, and so it's definitely a little bit harder even now, I'd say.
Cool. We have loads of questions coming in, so I'm gonna pick one from the audience, and hopefully you have an answer for that, but I'm sure you will. So we have Whitney asking, from what I've seen, TikTok trends to function really well from an employer branding standpoint as opposed to a product marketing standpoint. Do you think there's a good space for B2B marketing, or do you think it's better to stick to an employer branding strategy? Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, that is fancy. Yeah, I think we're definitely a B2B SaaS company, and I think if you have end users using your platform, like an everyday working person, or whoever your end user is, I think there's definitely a good place. Honestly, our top performing content is showing features and showing how to use Zoom, and if a new feature releases, or showing sort of not hidden, but features that people don't really know about as much. That's our top performing content, and I think there's so much of that by creators that don't work for Zoom or don't work for different companies. They'll be sharing like, oh, I like just found this in on PlayPlay, and like this is amazing, and like how did I not know this before, kind of thing. I think there is a really strong like product marketing kind of side. Of course, employer branding is great and important too, but I think, there's so much product marketing that can be done on TikTok if you get creative with how you're showing it. You can't like put up a video and have it be a 10-minute walkthrough of a product. You have to get a little creative with how you show it, but I definitely think there's a way to do it, and with fun sounds. Yeah, there's definitely some creativity there.
Yeah, and I think you probably have a good example, one that I know of like the use of the stitch feature on TikTok, where basically you guys were plugged into your community, knowing what people wanted to see as a feature to be added to Zoom. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that example, because I think it worked really well for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we actually, our most viewed, liked, everything, our top TikTok, I'd say, is one using the stitch feature. And it was from a teacher actually during probably last year, saying we want a way to have our students see us, but them not have to see each other, for, of course, different reasons. Kids get distracted, and by their friends, and it's just better for focusing, and all of that. So we came out with a feature called focus mode that was already in the works, but we kind of saved that TikTok, and that TikTok was going viral kind of a few times. It went viral. And so we knew when this feature came out, we wanted to stitch with that video and share. And that video now has, almost 9 million views, and it just blew up because people were like, thank you, I'm so excited that you have this feature now. Like, it was a person using our platform asking for this, and so many people commenting and saying, yes, please, we really want this, we really want this. And then when we stitched it, it was really great. So I think, and that also kind of shows like product marketing is on TikTok, because there it is, live, people asking for something your platform, and you're able to deliver and answer their questions.
Yeah, and I mean I remember that because it was even not monitoring a Zoom channel is like seeing this Zoom from this teacher in your For You page, like as an individual, just scrolling through TikTok. And that's when you know something has the potential to go really, really viral and really crazy. So that's super interesting. It kind of brings, since we're talking about teachers and school, Amanda has a great question that's been upvoted here, which is, and I'm sure the chat team is going to pop it up on the screen, but is there a place for higher education institution on TikTok, do you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think, recruiting students, showing student life. Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, look at what your goals are and what kind of strategy you're using on other platforms. And I mean, TikTok is a place where you can talk about being a social media manager on TikTok from your brand account. Like if you look at, some of those like other brands, it's not all about necessarily like their company, and make fun of yourself. And I would say there's a place for like most brands on TikTok if you kind of think about like what your goals are, how you want to come up. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a place for higher ed institutions there.
We have another great question, which I think kind of goes back a little bit to launching yourself on TikTok and understanding what's working and what's not. It's a question from Andreas, which says, how did you create awareness about Zoom's TikTok channel? And did you post about it on Zoom's other social media platforms? Like, how did you get people to know that you were there?
Yeah, we definitely did some promotion on our other channels. I think we did, maybe one or a few posts on like Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram. And now we really repurpose our TikToks. So less being like we're on TikTok, and more downloading and resharing our TikToks onto LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter. And actually we found on LinkedIn, our repurposed TikToks do so well. I don't think it's like the type of content people are expecting to see on LinkedIn. And you hear the music and you see a really creative way. So I definitely know that those perform when we reshare on TikTok or reshare on LinkedIn. Those perform really, really well.
Yeah, I definitely see more and more of the TikTok content popping up on LinkedIn from different brands. And I do think, to your point, that it's such a break into what we're used to see in the social channels, like that you gotta just have to stop and watch, just because, and it brings so much personality to the brand as well, because I think TikTok is still in a way categorized as like more of an entertaining channel, that you're like, oh, why is Zoom sharing a TikTok? You're gonna stop, you're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And to your point again, you might be sharing some product marketing information, some employer branding content, but people are just gonna want to stop and actually watch it. So it's a really, really, really great strategy. Fantastic. Oh, Chili Pepper's in the chat. Amazing. I love you guys on TikTok. You do so great. It's absolutely brilliant to have you on this chat today. So Madeline is saying we got 7,000 plus job applicants directly from TikTok, but we're trying to turn TikTok into more of a demand gen engine and have limited success. So I guess my question is, can TikTok, it's disappeared, sorry. Can TikTok be a successful demand gen engine for B2B brands? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm sure it can be. We actually haven't done too much demand gen on TikTok. But I would say test things out and see what your like what comes of it, what your results are. I think, yeah. I mean, I think if you just test and learn. But I mean, if you have 7,500 job applicants from TikTok, that's demand gen in a different way for the recruiting team. So take a look at what you did there and maybe repurpose it and see what paid features they have and just test it out.
I believe I have some sound issues, so I want to make sure that I'm making sure it doesn't happen again. Let me see if I can switch it. Is it better? I'm probably going to sound a bit far away from everyone, but it's my Is it not better?
It's crackling a little bit still.
Okay, I am going to refresh my page. Alison, don't go anywhere. I'm coming back.
I will
and
be right here.
My sound stops good.
How's everybody doing?
All right. How do we feel? How am I doing?
Sounds good. Yeah. Great.
Wonderful. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so let's go back into it. I'm so annoyed that I had to like refresh because I saw a great question that I was gonna ask you anyway. Which was, being a business makes it hard to use sounds. And I know you know about that. So sounds that are trending or that are virals. Do you have any advice on how to perform well without using the sounds?
Oh, that's a good question. When we can't use a sound, we utilize TikTok's features, right? Like filters and I don't love TikTok's like brand sounds all that much. You can find some good ones, of course, but I feel like the ones that they serve you like aren't that great. But I would say try to use the like voice to text feature. And we've done videos where there's no sound in the back; it's just the voice to text kind of walking through the steps that we're doing. Instead of, usually you'll put text on the screen for whatever you're talking about or whatever you're showing. So try to use that, and you can put kind of whatever sound in the background if you want a background sound, or if you don't. Yeah, and then I think there are so many sounds that aren't, of course, like there's the ones that aren't licensed and you just totally don't have access to them. But there's so many other sounds on TikTok too that are available to use that wouldn't fall in that bucket. But I think using the voiceover sound or the voice to text, or the text to voice, I guess, the opposite way, kind of robot voice is a good way. I think people are really familiar with that voice on TikTok, so it won't feel like it's like an ad or the kind of cringe brand coming in with their weird thing. So I think that's a good way to kind of get around it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's the voice, the text to voice, it's hard to say. The text to voice is definitely, for your French speakers, a great way to be able to be part of TikToks without having to using our accent. So it's definitely a good one. Now I have the $1 million question, and you might not have the answer to it because I don't know if anybody has. But like, how much should you post on TikTok? What should be the frequency?
Oh my gosh, I would say if you can, do it every day, but that is probably impossible unless you are the sole content creator only focusing on TikTok. But many places that is not the case. That's definitely not the case for us at Zoom. We all have a lot of other stuff we're working on at the same time. So we, I'd say post as often as you can, kind of have like a minimum amount. Like our minimum is once a week. We really want to get a TikTok out once a week, and on a good week we'll do 3 to 4 or 5, and that's amazing. But just as much as you can, and really just start to get a feel of the platform. And on the days that you don't have the time to post a TikTok, try to get in there for 30 minutes and engage with a hashtag about your line of work, or if you have hashtags about your company on TikTok, engage with those, or if people are tagging you, just try to go through and engage with what you can. And especially on Brand Talk now, there's an expectation that you have to be commenting on things that only have to do with your brand. I mean, you can comment on Taylor Swift's TikTok about whatever. We see Duolingo doing it, we see Ryanair doing it, we see all these companies doing it. So I think, there's definitely ways to still make your presence known, even if you're unable to be posting every single day.
That's amazing. And so I think on the same kind of aspect of that question is like, you want to be posting every day, but like to Jenny's point in the questions, what does your creative process look like for coming up with TikTok ideas? Like, how do you come up with ideas? Because if you're going to be posting every day, you better have a lot of great ideas. So how does this work for you?
Yeah, it's not easy. I've gone through like times, week periods that I'm like, I am not creative at all. I have like no ideas. And, we really work as a team. There's not one person coming up with every idea on our side for TikTok, which is amazing. So if you are a one person social media manager, like so many, companies have, try to get a group of people that together that can kind of brainstorm with you. Honestly, brainstorming TikTok meetings are like literally the best meetings in the entire world. And we do that weekly. With our team, we come together and we pull kind of trending audio or it doesn't even have to be trending. It just, kind of trends that are picking up on TikTok, or ideas that we saw that, might be fun for Zoom to try. So just try to brainstorm and come up with a list of content that you can always kind of like get back to if you're feeling a little unsure about what to share, or your creativity juices are not flowing. And that will definitely happen. But yeah, I think if you can brainstorm and just try to spend time on TikTok, like anytime that I'm feeling a little uncreative, I try to block time on my calendar to just scroll through TikTok, and I'm sure you'll find some ideas of something that you can be a part of. And if it's not, then it's not the end of the world. But there's definitely some planning in advance with other pieces of content that if a new feature is releasing or something, that stuff you can plan in advance. But a lot of the trend stuff is hopping on what makes sense for your brand. So that's not always easy to plan in advance. But yeah, I think it's kind of just a mix. And if you're not feeling creative, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. That's how I try to think about it.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm terrified that my sound doesn't look good and doesn't sound good anymore because I can't hear myself. So feel free to say something in the chat if it's still happening. We have an amazing question from Amy, which has been voted a lot of times. And as a brand is very important, because ultimately you're a marketing person, you're going to have to tell people if what you're doing is performing well. And so Amy is saying, I'm curious, beside views, what other metrics are looked at to determine success?
Yeah, we definitely look at views as just pretty easy, because it's like the first thing you see when you're on any TikTok. Of course, it's on kind of your brand page. We of course look at followers, and that like kind of on a weekly basis, like is it growing, is it falling, is it kind of staying the same? Engagements, that shares, saves, likes, comments, all those things go into how your videos are performing. I would say especially the shares and the saves. So we do take a look at that pretty regularly, because people could view your video and it not resonate. If they don't take an action to comment on it or like it or share it or save it, then is it really serving its purpose? So I feel like views, in addition to everything else, looks good. And then we also look at, sometimes, like I mentioned, we reshare our TikToks on other channels. So sometimes if a TikTok about employer branding doesn't work well on our channel, and we share it on LinkedIn and it does really well, I'm not going to stop creating that content because it didn't work just on TikTok. If it's working on every other channel, I still want to repurpose. We love to repurpose content, and definitely everybody should love to repurpose content because it makes everybody's life easier. But yeah, I would say I'm not going to stop just because it doesn't work necessarily on TikTok if it's working somewhere else. So we kind of take a look at the video as a whole. Like, did it serve its purpose? Did we kind of get our message across? Are we seeing anything changing, or kind of those metrics too?
Brilliant. I've changed my mic again. I don't know if it's working, but let me know. But James tells us, do you think there's a lot of difference between B2C and a B2B approach to creating content on TikTok?
I don't know, actually. I think other social channels, of course, but I think TikTok now is is so different. Like it's just such a different channel. Like I had said, like you can make a TikTok about being a social media manager and that's going to find its way. You can make a TikTok about just being on brand talk and it's going to, probably get some traction. So I think there's of course differences in what you're going to be speaking about or what your goals are. And B2C content might just resonate a little bit easier because people want this bag and it goes viral or something like that. But um, yeah, I think there's ways that you can do it very similarly. And I know that when I'm scrolling on TikTok, I get inspired by videos that don't have anything to do with work from home or Zoom or, communication platforms and, that sort of thing. So I think there's definitely ways that you can use the same kind of approach to create content as like a B2C company would. Oh, and I see in the chat that how many employees, a lot of their TikTok content comes from employees. Yeah, I think that's great too. Um, to be using UGC and resharing stuff and duetting and, you know, all of that. Anytime you can use a TikTok native feature, do it. I'm sure it is promoted a ton in the algorithm. Oh, you were muted. Our favorite line. I can't hear you right now. I don't know if that's just me. What's everybody's favorite brand to follow on TikTok?
Yeah?
Yes. Hi.
Yes. Melissa with our headphones. We're going to figure it out. I'm letting everybody know that after this session, we're sorting out the sound. So I'm really, really sorry this is happening. And Alison, you're being fantastic keeping this chat. I know it's weird to have your host just like popping in and out of the conversation. So let's just go back to it because I saw so many great questions popping up again. I'm sure Zoom doesn't have a hard time recruiting, but Olivia is asking this great question. Any advice on creating content that is focused on recruitment? So how would you go about that, like creating content that makes you want to join a company?
Yeah, we're doing a series right now in partnership with our talent engagement team. And it's a day in the life series. So we're trying to find different people across our organization to film. I'm sure we've all seen the day in the life from tech companies or, just someone who lives in New York or lives in Paris or, works wherever or does whatever um, on TikTok. So I think it's looking at what kind of the same thing, like what kind of trends or themes of content can you jump into and make that your own. So the Day in the Life series is really fun for us and it's really fun for employees too, to, be shown on TikTok if even if they're not on the social team. Um, and then we also do for cultural holidays like national International Women's Day. We had women share tips for succeeding in the workplace as a woman. And for Intern Day, we had a few interns film themselves giving tips about the best advice they've received about their internship as an intern or finding an internship, whatever kind of piece of advice that they were looking for. So there's definitely different ways to do that. And then we also, we do like a rating our coworkers virtual background series too, which I think is super fun. And that's not, directly like as obvious as, you know, this is a day in the life, come work at Zoom kind of content, but it's just a fun way to show we're fun. We, use these crazy backgrounds all the time and we all have a good time and, we can kind of roast each other a little bit. And, I think it's a fun, finding different ways to show your culture outside of just obvious, like we're hiring. But I just saw a good one from the Washington Post the other day too, that they were about how they're hiring interns. And I mean, the Washington Post TikTok is like one of my favorites for sure. But yeah, just seeing what other companies do too, kind of getting inspiration from them, I think is good.
Yeah, I've seen so many great companies name dropped into the chat since the beginning of this chat you and I have been having, and I agree with everything that you said. I think Ryanair is fantastic, Duolingo is fantastic. The fact that Chili Pepper is in this conversation makes my heart like so warm because I've loved your TikTok since you've launched it. So that's really, really good. We only have 4.5 minutes to be with each other. So I have like one last question that I think could probably work for everyone, but is if you could pick three type of contents to like get yourself launched on TikTok as a brand, like what would you go for? What would be some of the, I don't want to say easy, but kind of the easy ones that you can get started with if you want to launch your brand on TikTok?
Yeah. From our experience, I think what's worked well and is kind of an easy win, pro tips or, kind of tips, any kind of tips like motivational tips, or we do, kind of work from home tips, like doesn't even necessarily have to be directly about your product, but kind of something that people using your product all have in common. And then kind of on that same vein, like working from home kind of pain points or like niche things that happen to you when you're on a Zoom. Like we would do, something like you join a meeting on time and you're with the coworker that maybe you don't like that much, and you're just sitting there in awkward silence waiting for the other 10 people to join the meeting for a few minutes. So those kind of things that are just, everyone's kind of experiencing that in some way or another, or resonate, things that would allow people to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to send this to my, work bestie or whatever. And then video replies, where you can, if you're getting questions in your Q&A box, or if people are commenting on your TikTok, of course you would have to have some posts up to get questions in there. But yeah, using TikTok native features where you can always will be beneficial to you versus like just uploading and sharing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to like unpack all the ways that Zoom has been doing such a fantastic job on TikTok. Can you tell us how many followers and like TikTok views you guys have?
Yeah, right now we have about 325,000 followers, and then I think 3 million likes is what we're at right now. So yeah,
doing
hopefully
all,
that.
yeah. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for walking us through all of this. To everybody else, we're going to have a chat with Melissa Rosenthal just after this, led by Domiti, who you met just earlier. Hopefully her sound will sound better than mine, and we're going to figure it out in the meantime. But other than that, I want to let everybody know that this replay will be available and we will send it to you. We're also writing a recap with all the advice that Alison gave in this chat to make sure that everybody gets access to it. And yeah, everybody get an extra minute and a half to chill, grab a coffee before ClickUp's chat. And I'll speak to you in 45 minutes, and we'll speak to Anthony Canada. Very exciting too. Thank you so much, Alison.
Thank you so much, Melissa and PlayPlay. Yeah. I'm so excited. I was so happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. See you soon.